Of the respondents, so there were 266 people who took part in this survey. 90% of respondents suffer from imposter syndrome. And that was a shocking number to me. Typically, the numbers that we hear about are around 70%. But to see the number 90%, and that's people who have suffered in the past or who are currently suffering from imposter syndrome. I always do wonder about the percentage who have never experienced imposter syndrome. In this case, the 10%. So I do always wonder about those people. Question I often get is the difference between men and women. And it's typically associated with women that we think that it's only women who experience imposter syndrome. And this may be because the original research that was done was on women academics, and we always tend to associate it with women. But in fact, men and women experience imposter syndrome, and that also came through from the results. I looked also at the triggers of imposter syndrome, see where it actually comes from. Now, typically imposter syndrome tends to strike at any time there is a change. So when we're getting out of our comfort zone, and the research I carried out confirmed this, things like starting in a new company, starting a new job, or being promoted, they tended to be the biggest triggers of imposter syndrome among this sample of respondents. I also looked at the impact of imposter syndrome, and something that came up again and again was this idea of procrastination. So when you're procrastinating on either on tasks or on decision making, and that can have a huge impact on businesses when people are afraid to make those crucial decisions at work. And I couldn't have done this report without including some reference to COVID-19 and the impact that COVID had on feelings of imposter syndrome, especially when people are working remotely. They're spending much more of their time perhaps alone or isolated from their team. They're not getting that feedback that is so inherent in teams when we're working together in offices. And this may have had a detrimental impact on imposter syndrome. So I also looked at that. I wanted to remind you again of where you can access the full details of the report. You'll be able to access that on impostersyndrome.ie/report.